Get Rich Education is brought to you by Ridge Lending Group, the Real Asset Investor, and Norada Real Estate. Cash flow real estate investors, this is Get Rich Education's Keith Weinhold. Did you know that you can finance up to 35 income properties all with one lender? Ridge Lending Group specializes in investment property loans, and they do it in almost every U.S. state. Ridge has worked with tens of thousands of real estate investors and homeowners all over the country. They've been doing this for investors for so long that at this point, they've helped more families realize their dreams of becoming real estate investors than any other mortgage lender in the country. To find out more, visit ridgelendinggroup.com.
Welcome to Get Rich Education with Keith Weinhold, giving you information and ideas on the investment that has turned more ordinary people into millionaires and billionaires than anything else, and can provide you with more wealth and happiness than you ever thought possible. Now, here's your host, investor, entrepreneur, business owner, and educator, Keith Weinhold.
Hey, welcome to Get Rich Education. This is episode 115. I'm Keith Weinhold, heard nationwide from Schenectady to Sacramento and in 174 nations from Slovenia to Sweden to Spain to Sri Lanka. This is Get Rich Education. Would becoming a real estate agent yourself help you land the good deals? That's what we're talking about today. And boy, our guest is really going to pull back the curtain on how real estate agents are basically involved in legalized insider trading. Your favorite Slackshot blogger with loafers on is back here for another wealth building week. And thanks for being here, but you're not here for me. You're here for you. And happy holidays. Let me tell you about a couple resources that you might find helpful in your real estate and in your business first. The first one is BombBomb.com. That's BOMB. It's a video email service that I've really liked using, so I just committed to buying it for a year. By sending a video email, not only is it faster than typing out an email, but you can get your point across with your tone of voice, your inflection, your body language, and just simply by building trust and familiarity that way with your email recipient. So, I really think this can help you close more deals or get more attention from a vendor by using a video email. I mean, just imagine communicating once in a while with the property manager of your turnkey portfolio somewhere across the country, okay? That manager or that vendor whom you might have never met in person, I think they're just likely to feel more connected with your personalized video message than they will be with the next investor that emails them that goes ahead and sends like a traditional text-based email. They might just give you more attention because they feel like they know you better, okay? That manager or contractor, they might just respond to your request more promptly. And I've been getting a lot of good reaction from recipients that I send a video email to. A lot of them are like, wow, how can I do that? So just imagine the power of even a quick 30-second thank you video email that you send to someone where you go ahead and personalize it. You use their name when you send the email to them. So the recipient kind of matches both your face and your personality to your name. I really like using it. I usually shoot the video with the built-in laptop camera. There's also a mobile app. That video email service, again, is BombBomb.com. Another online resource that's pretty slick is Blinkist.com and the Blinkist app. That's Blinkist. What it is thousands of best-selling nonfiction books, and they transform these concisely into short stories that you can read in about 15 minutes. And on your phone, the blinks are divided into about 10 pieces, or what they call blinks, and you read one blink and then just swipe your phone to get to the next blink. So it's a great way to read books quick. Like, just go ahead and read 4 books in a day and get the main points from each one. It's also easy to listen to the audio version of the blink if you'd rather listen than read. And there are a number of books on Blinkist that feature some of the guests that we've had here on Get Rich Education this year with us, like Robert Kiyosaki in his book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, like T. Harv Eker, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, and they're just adding more titles over there all the time. My business developer, John Collins, told me about Blinkist. Neither of those two services that I mentioned are free, by the way, but they both have free trial periods. So that's BombBomb is a great communication tool for you, and Blinkist is a slick educational resource. They've both been developed pretty smartly. Those resources are listed in today's show notes, of course. All right, well, on next week's show here, our guest will be the man that Donald Trump calls a member of his hand-picked team of wealth creation experts and the best of the best in the entire world at what he does. That's for next week here on GRE, when we're going to be talking about Donald Trump and his tax policies a lot. This week, we've got a strong speaker as our guest as well. In fact, he leads the largest real estate investment club in his entire state, which is also my home state. Yes, today marks only the second time in history that we've had a guest from my local area here on GRE, and that's not counting our in-house chats with John Collins that we have here once in a while. Now, Get Rich Education's a real estate investing show, but I wouldn't call it so much a landlording show, although we do talk landlording sometimes, but principally as an investing show, we get more guests with, I guess, a traditional academic type of provenance. So it's great to have a guest like today's who had a lineage in a blue-collar contractor industry before he became an agent and an investor and an educator. Today, it's should you become a real estate agent yourself to find the great deals? Let's go. Today's guest began in real estate in the 90s by buying unfinished homes, completing them, and selling them, basically flipping. But in 2007, after nearly 14 years in construction, he entered real estate full-time, obtaining his license, and he began selling homes as well as expanding his own investment portfolio with more rentals and rehabs. Today, he owns Foundations Real Estate Experts. They're Alaska's largest investor-focused real estate team. He's a productivity coach that educates licensees, and he serves on the board of directors for the Keller Williams Group in his state. He's also the president of the Real Estate Exchange, and that's a group I'm familiar with because I'm basically an inaugural member there. They're Alaska's largest network of real estate investors. Our guest was appointed by the mayor as the director of the platting board for Anchorage, Alaska. He's also the author of Win with Investors. It's a realtor training program that teaches salespeople creative acquisition strategies as he travels across the United States, teaching investor success secrets to other real estate brokerages. And he also served as the buyer side licensee for my wife and I's humble home, the primary residence that we bought 4 years ago. Welcome to Get Rich Education, Kevin Cross.
Thank you, Keith. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's great having you here. It feels overdue. I'm glad we're finally doing it. How can having your real estate license help you better get into that income property deal flow?
That's an excellent question, Keith. First, I think it's important to get a perspective of why I made that progression, not just what the benefits and what the withdrawals and negatives are, but why would I ever proceed getting a real estate license when the fact is I was actually doing really well in construction and was doing really well flipping houses. I spent nearly 14 years as a pipe fitter, working construction, working a blue-collar job, accumulating scar tissue, and being told what to do on a daily basis so I get my paycheck, that I decided that I really wanted to take control of my future. And as you know, as you teach here, that real estate was really the fastest, most accelerated way I could become an entrepreneur. Out of everything else I could do, real estate, there was nothing that compared for how quickly and how much control I had over my destiny and how quickly it could be successful. It is. And so one thing that dawned on me was, one, looking at all the great opportunities.
It's kind of the final frontier where you don't need a formal education.
If you looked in our market, and when I did a lot of research, it was obvious that the individuals who were doing phenomenal real estate deals, completing and closing a lot of transactions, and had a massive inventory of rentals, they were all licensed realtors. They may not have been acting full-time as sales, but whether they were property managers or whether they were rehabbers, in our industry, what I noticed is that those individuals were holding a real estate license and really approached it as a business. And that was my aha, that if I was going to make that transition full-time into real estate, I had to start treating it like a legitimate business. and that getting a business license, getting a real estate license, and treating it like the industry that I believed that it should be was a natural progression.
Yeah. So do you feel like that better help you get into the deal flow? You saw other investors that were also licensees where they got a deal that you missed out on because they were in the deal flow and they had access to the MLS and they were able to respond faster?
Well, and that's just scraping the surface. Yes, the first part that stood out to me was I had been using probably 3 or 4 different realtors. I didn't understand the strength of finding one that specialized in investments and creating an allegiance. I basically was shopping around. Most of the realtors I dealt with weren't investor focused. They were sales focused with maybe a little bit of experience with investors. And we'll talk about why that's important and how you as an investor with that knowledge and that mindset getting into the industry can carve out your own niche. However, when I was in construction and I was dealing with most realtors, I remember at one point there was a series of 5 properties that came up for sale that were smoking deals on investment properties. And I approached an individual about putting in an offer. And 4 of those 5 had been bought by other realtors. That there was one that was multiple offers that the public was basically fighting over. And it was honestly the least attractive out of the 5 deals. The realtors were able to not take a commission or negotiate that down. They were able to bring a better offer, but essentially pay less. They had access to other financing. They had access to creative options because they're in the industry and they know people that I didn't know. They also knew about the property before it hit the market because they're in the business. They were able to network with other people because they do it on a daily basis. They're not pulling wrenches 10, 12 hours a day or trying to do their job and occasionally trying to find real estate deals. Every morning, they're able to get in and get involved and network with other people and make deals. I really, at that point, was like, you know what? It dawned on me that the best deals are being illegally insider trading between realtors and the public gets what's left over. And so it seemed to me, it was like when I first got my real estate license, it wasn't to create a massive sales team. It wasn't to carve out a niche. It wasn't to be a national speaker and trainer. It was, for all intended purposes, kind of a selfish interest in order to get into flow of leads, the flow of investment leads. And that's what this business is all about. I mean, if you want to be phenomenal investing, you need to know where the great deals are. You need to analyze a lot of properties. You need a lot of leads.
Yeah, so really in that case, and that's a really good story there with the 5 homes that were for sale and the one at the end maybe that was available to a non-licensee. If you have your license, first of all, you have the knowledge of the deal. Second of all, you have the timeliness so that you can respond quickly. And then third of all, if effectively you have a commission savings, and you're able to buy a house basically as the buyer's agent and represent yourself, you can effectively save that 3% and therefore make a stronger deal.
Well, it's even better than that. If you're doing an owner-occupied loan, if you're using an FHA or a conventional loan, they have a 5% conventional loan program with 5% down or a 3.5% on an FHA. Well, you can negotiate a higher commission. You can adjust that purchase price and you can essentially roll in as a form of commission your down payment on a property. I mean, realtors have an advantage because if they don't have a down payment, the seller can't directly contribute. However, receiving a commission is not a seller contributing to your down payment. It is you being paid by your brokerage for fees and services rendered. And you can use that payment as a form of down payment on the property. So in a sense, realtors not only know about the deals beforehand, they can actually still have access to what is essentially zero down financing, which is rare unless you're VA anymore. And then they have that network of support around them. So here's what I discovered when I got my real estate license. First, the intention was that I would have access to more leads and more deals. And that did happen. I immediately started going out. I was able to check the MLS and I was able to start doing searches. This is something that you can do. This is what's so awesome. See, with access to the MLS, I was able to start finding people who had paid cash for properties in the last 2 years. Well, what does that tell you when you can go in and search properties and see what deals closed for cash and who owns them now? Who do you think those individuals are? They're investors. They're other people that are looking to build their empires. And it made it real easy for me to start contacting them and saying, hey, I see you just paid cash for property in the last year. Do you happen to be an investor? What are you looking for? Do you know of any deals? And pretty soon you're able to build your network of other investors, because what we know is no one person can buy everything. At some point, your funds get tied up, but we're always looking. And by networking with other investors, I started having deals fall in my lap from other investors who would call me and go, Kev, I found this great deal. This guy, he's in a divorce. He needs to sell it. I'm in the middle of a rehab. I can't fund it. But if you want it, You give me $1,500, dude, I'll give you the name and number and you can close on it. So then by networking with other people, finding other individuals through the MLS, I was privy to a wealth of knowledge that the public just didn't even know existed.
Yeah, you're really the central nervous system of the deal flow as soon as you're there.
The next thing that happened was that you'll discover that the real estate industry has its own little niche of specialists, and that there are home inspectors who not only rehab and flip houses, but own rentals. There are contractors that specialize in helping real estate services, roofing contractors. Pretty soon, I was able to develop a network of HVAC contractors, plumbers, electricians, structural engineers, home inspectors, you name it. And they all provided preferred service to the real estate industry and significant discounts. Because unlike Joe Schmo, who's maybe flips 1 or 2 properties a year, they know that by getting in good with realtors who have a good business and selling lots of properties, are good for lots of business throughout the year or two. Because every time they have a client, that client needs a heating system inspection, or my gosh, that roof is up and they need a roof inspection. And so because you're referring so much spin-off business to them in the form of other sales, that I was able to start getting significant discounts on the other work that was being done on my rehab and flips. So then I was able to keep doing less of the work myself, although I do enjoy it. I was doing less work. I was able to hire more professional contractors, and I was getting significant discounts. So now I've got more leads. I got more access to financing. I got more access to other investors. I'm getting discounts on contractors because of just the network that's there. And then the final part of this that was awesome was the market knowledge. And when you're dealing with individuals or a group of individuals who every day live, breathe, smell everything real estate, and you can find out what's selling, what's not selling, what is that sweet spot, what is the price range, and why. The realtors, even though they're sales, they got to understand the demographics of employment and what's taking place, because they're investing thousands of dollars into getting properties sold before they ever get paid. So the really good real estate teams, really good realtors have a pulse on the market. Well, you have an access to them and they know you. You're on a first name basis with those individuals because you network with them. And then you know what's happening. You know why in Anchorage you don't want to flip a house over $450,000 unless you get a screaming deal on it, and what those sweet spots are, what the average days on market is, and what neighborhoods are selling over others, even though they're maybe only 3 blocks away and look the same. The final part of that is actually just a tremendous amount of market knowledge, so that now when I rehab and flip properties, I know that I'm going to have that thing under contract in less than 14 days, if not before. Because the entire time I'm flipping this property, I'm rehabbing it, I'm networking with other realtors, letting them know of another great opportunity that's coming up. They're familiar with my work, and I can market that to them non-MLS before it ever hits the market. Then their buyers are getting a feeling of exclusivity, and I can sell my properties before I'm even done.
Yeah, you're just hitting on so many advantages there. You know, one was how you're basically helping providers like a great HVAC guy or like an earthwork person and diverting so much business to them from your clients. And then they're obviously going to treat you really well and be really responsive to your needs on your own properties when you might need them. You're right on the cutting edge. If a new medical center is going to be constructed somewhere, you know the apartment buildings near it are going to thrive, and you're going to be privy to that knowledge before the rest of the general public is. Now, as far as on the seller side, when you want to go sell a property, you don't have to pay a listing agent to sell property for you either. You can act as your own.
Now, that's exactly right. Let's be honest. If you're full-time in the real estate industry, and that's what's also important, we'll go into the difficult part, which is the amount of time and the expense. However, when it comes to selling properties, not just your own, you have to realize that when you accelerate your business to a certain level, that you're organically just going to run across people looking to buy and sell. If you figure you're getting anywhere from 3 to 6% on those sales and you're just walking away from it, the amount of income that you are passing by is astronomical. Even if you don't want to directly deal with the sellers and buyers, that you can receive referral fees, often 25 to 30% of whatever they buy or sell from another realtor, which, by the way, legally you can't get, or you're not supposed to be paid for unless you're licensed as a realtor. Listen, if you've got a property for sale and you list it yourself, well, the question is this. Do you know why realtors list properties for sale, Keith? It's to find buyers. A listing is kind of like, and why they list properties is in order to attract buyers. And buyers are the leverage that they get in order to, if they don't buy that listing, they'll buy something else and get a commission split. Well, when you start listing your own properties, Who's calling on those signs? Well, they're individuals that may be interested in buying a property. Well, if you're just a wholesaler and they're not interested in buying your property, do you just turn away that potential 3% of another closing? Do you just turn your eyes to it and go, no, thank you?
You're going to refer them somewhere else.
You're going to refer them and at least get 30%. Oftentimes, if you're good for enough leads, I have referral agreements with some realtors where it's 50% of the leads that I send them because they know I produce so many leads from our inventory that they give me a higher percentage because I refer more business.
And just for the audience's sake, we're talking about a referral fee, a percentage of income another agent would get if Kevin would refer them to that other agent.
That's right, which you are not legally allowed to collect unless you're licensed as a realtor. Most people don't realize that this is where wholesaling gets real risky. Sometimes wholesalers are actually skating the edge of the law because if you got a property under contract that you actually don't have any intention to buy and you don't have an earnest money deposit, there's not much difference between that and exclusive right to sell agreement that a realtor uses. Most people don't realize what will happen if that seller or that individual gets upset and decides to take you to court. So also having a real estate license provides you a lot of air and emissions insurance and a lot of protections that as a wholesaler or someone else you may not have. There's a lot of the business of real estate that got peeled back and exposed to me once I got my license. One, I did not realize how much at risk I was putting myself when I was entering into some of these non-traditional contracts, even lease options and things like that. And how do you improve upon a lease option? Well, a lease option employs tenancy. So oftentimes I discovered through real estate that there's a better way to do a lease option contract that's much more binding, whether I'm the lease or the leasee, and achieves my goals and just structure it a little bit differently using some different contracts, some real estate contracts that are out there. It's not just what you can save commission-wise on property, but all that spin-off business from buyers and sellers, friends, family members, people calling on your properties. Heck, people calling on your rentals. I've got investment properties. Do you think I've ever talked to my tenants about when their credit score improves and they want to move out of my properties? Why are you moving out? Well, I tell you what, if you allow me to help you find a place to live, I agree to let you out of your lease early, provided that you leave the place in good condition if you agree to buy a house through me. Well, why would I allow someone out of their lease early? Well, they're paying $1,400 a month in rent, but on the close of a $300,000 property, I make $9,000 and I can fill that vacancy. So then it just opened up a whole wealth of other opportunities, from helping tenants buy houses, helping friends buy houses, family members buy and sell property, conduct my own transactions at a discount, get the commission towards a down payment, networking with other individuals, networking with contractors. And when I got into getting a real estate license purely to find more deals, I opened up a whole world of opportunities I didn't know existed.
Yeah, there's really a lot of flexibilities, options, and leverage there with having your license. Well, I'm sure this is getting a lot of you excited about getting your real estate license to go ahead and get in the deal flow. But when we come back after the break, we're going to talk about some of the drawbacks and some of the limitations of having your real estate license. You're listening to Get Rich Education. Our guest is author of Win with Investors, Kevin Cross. More when we come back. I'm your host, Keith Weinhold.
Are you on track to achieve your financial goals? Income-producing real estate is the most historically proven way to accumulate wealth and has created more financial freedom than any other means. Norada Real Estate provides everything you need to invest in the best turnkey cash flow rental properties. Our simple, proven system will help you create real wealth and passive monthly income. Get your free strategy session with our knowledgeable investment counselors at noradarealestate.com. That's NORADA realestate.com.
As a lot of investors know, multifamily real estate has been one of the best asset classes to be invested in most of the last decade. While the great deals have been harder to find lately, there are still opportunities in select markets where savvy investors can get lots of appreciation and strong cash flow if you have a great team. Dave Zook, founder and president of The Real Asset Investor, and his team have been very active in the multifamily space in Memphis, Tennessee. On the heels of the Great Recession of 2009, Dave and his team quietly started acquiring multifamily assets, and in the last few years, he has syndicated over 2,000 apartment units, creating strong cash flow streams and big appreciation for lots of their investors. It's not too late to get involved. If you're an accredited investor and you would like to learn more about investing in great multifamily apartments with a world-class team, email Dave and his team at info@therealassetinvestor.com.
Hi, this is Russell Gray, co-host of the Real Estate Guys radio show, and you're listening to Get Rich Education with Keith Weinhold. Don't quit your daydream.
Welcome back to Get Rich Education with our guest, Kevin Cross. So, Kevin, what are some of the drawbacks of being a real estate investor? Let's talk about that a little bit, especially with what are some of the state's licensing requirements in the U.S. prior to one obtaining their license?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, Keith. I will tell you that the education that's required to become a realtor has absolutely nothing to do with what it takes to be successful in the business. So the only way I can tell you is that if anybody's ever been in construction, real estate education is kind of like an apprenticeship telling you all the different kinds of hand tools that are involved in construction, but not really explaining how all these pieces go together to build a phenomenal building. So real estate education, in order to get a license, can be anywhere from 40 to 100 hours of pre-licensing. Then you take a test that costs you money as well. Then you have to follow it up with another maybe 20 to 50 hours of post-licensing education within your first year of getting your real estate license. Then you have business licensing fees, brokerage fees, National Association of Realtor fees, and there's all these fees. In the Anchorage market, it typically adds up to about $4,000 to $5,000 out of pocket to start actually actively selling real estate. But when you compare that to being a plumber and being a contractor or construction, you're barely scraping the surface. I mean, if you're a roofing contractor, you'd have to buy extension ladders, workman's comp insurance, tools, maybe get bonded and pay for a bond in order to do it. So when you compare it to other industries, it's actually a lot less expensive. However, there is some education and some stuff that's literally hair pulling. So one of the difficulty parts is just the education up front when you realize that it's good factual knowledge regarding real estate, but it's not like the business of real estate. They're not going to tell you what's a good cap rate, what's a bad cap rate. They're just going to basically tell you this is a cap rate for your market. So the other thing is to understand that it is very difficult to be successful in real estate if you're only part-time realtor. If you can find someone that allow you to camp and you deal with enough referral business, but every year you have repeating fees and education. So unless you're proactively looking to use it and take advantage of the benefits it has, don't think you're just going to get a real estate license and it'll pay for itself. You need to be proactive. It's very interesting, but in our market, 4 out of 5 people who get into real estate sales fail in their first 2 years. They fail. They don't make it as realtors. They end up quitting. The analogy I use is being in real estate is kind of like riding a bicycle. It's really hard to do it if you're looking over your shoulder. They often have a job or they have something else that they like doing and they keep thinking about going back to it and not really pursuing real estate full time and putting those tools to use, in which case they never pay for themselves. So they crash their business and then they say, well, it was just a waste of time or I didn't do it. Well, you know what? If you're going to do it, then throw yourself into it and intentionally be amazing. See, the reason most realtors have a bad reputation is because there's good and bad in every industry. There's good and bad plumbers. There's good and bad police officers. Even our audience, I'm sure in their job, they probably sit next to someone every day and wonder, how does this guy remember to breathe, right? So we all run across those individuals that are like, and they're in every industry, and they might be sitting next to you. Real estate's not exempt from that. If you want what nobody else has, you have to be willing to do what nobody else will do. And that means aggressively building a real estate empire and pursuing it like a real business. So that's the big challenge. Part-time realtors, you may not be able to justify the expense because on top of all those other fees, you got MLS dues, you got lockbox dues. Every time you list a property, you got signs, maybe photographs. And so the expenses add up before you ever get paid on a commission. The other thing on a real estate license is what you do today does not pay for 90. So whatever kind of activities you do, it's not like you get a weekly paycheck. You are 90 days away from getting paid on today's activities. So there's a delayed response. That's why real estate commissions are typically so large, because you have no idea what kind of work they put in the last 90 days to finally get a paycheck or how many deals fell apart. Not everything closes. And so it's the economy of scale. The other part that is disclosures. Listen, before I got into real estate, I could just go out and bring an offer on a property, lowball somebody, not let them know that there's a bunch of equity on the table and sponge it up. Now, as a professional realtor with a fiduciary responsibility to the public, I have the first page of my purchase contracts when I'm personally purchasing distressed property states this: Seller acknowledges that Kevin Cross is licensed through Keller Williams Realty and is purchasing the property at a discount with intentions to make substantial repairs and sell for a profit. I have to lay it out that my intention is I am buying it at a discount. I am going to make repairs and I intend on selling it for a profit. Sometimes people will be like, well, what is that profit? What does that look like? As a professional realtor, you have a fiduciary responsibility, and you are sent out and through our state licensing, your job is to protect the public first and foremost. Well, sometimes that's in conflict with your own selfish real estate investor gains. However, I will tell you that although that's maybe cost me one or two jobs because someone says, well, gosh, I didn't realize the numbers, and gosh, I'll try to do this myself. Yes, I've lost a couple deals because of that, but I have made up for it 100 times over with the other deals that have been afforded me. You can't win them all, and I will tell you the benefits significantly outweigh the negatives. So the disclosure issues, also there's MLS rules. If you're a member of the MLS, the Multiple Listing Service, they do not like you doing non-MLS business, not putting it on the market. Personally, I like giving my clients a feeling of exclusivity on deals. And I like putting properties on the market non-MLS. However, your local MLS may insist that properties that you list are listed on the MLS and brought out for public and that you open them up to all realtors. So you really have to look at your local rules regarding listing properties, what your association, what your real estate commission will allow, because when you're a real estate professional, they hold you to a higher standard. Now, you can look at that as a negative and go, gosh, I'm being held to a higher standard. But typically speaking, higher standards are a good thing. When you're dealing with the public and you come to somebody who's got, for instance, if I go to somebody who's got a house that they're upside down in, and I think I could buy it really fast for cash and I could make a screaming deal, I first have to talk to them about have they spoke to their lender about a mortgage modification. But let me provide you a handout on the difference between a short sale, a deed in lieu, or whatever your options are so that you make an educated decision. Oh, by the way, if you do choose to sell it, I would like to purchase it for cash, and here's the benefits of that offer. However, I'm responsible to make sure that they're informed of other options that are out there. Otherwise, it can be seen as taking advantage of someone, and that's not fulfilling my fiduciary responsibility. So you need to be more aware about the impact that you're having on the public and not going out of your way to create ripples, so to speak. That, in fact, by the way, has dramatically increased my business. Why do you say? Well, now people know that they can come to somebody safely for consulting purposes, including other realtors who have clients who are dealing with hardship. Maybe it's a cash purchase, maybe that's a situation, but they come to me seeking guidance and counseling because I'm able to show them their options. And then obviously, if that individual decides they want to dump the property, who's the first person they're going to bring the deal to? Well, me. So yes, the rules, the regulations, the behavior of which you need to conduct yourself holds yourself to a higher standard, and that's a good thing. So you build your business basically on other people's success, whether it's the success of your clients buying and selling houses, the success of you investing in properties and rehabbing, the success of a homeowner who's in hardship, who needs to get out of it. You basically are in multiple income streams of successful problem solving.
Yeah. Well, this is great. We covered an awful lot there. So yes, you must pass a test for your licensing. And yeah, that test often has very little or nothing to do with how you're really practicing. And unfortunately for our listeners, typically, whichever state you're in, that licensing test, less than 10% of the material on that test is going to deal with investor metrics like internal rate of return, cash on cash return, and cap rate and all of that. So typically it is a test that you need to study for because it's not this stuff that you deal with every day, and it's not always an easy test.
Or more importantly, where do you think most realtors get themselves in trouble? It's with taxes. They don't tell you about tax withholdings and structuring yourself up. They don't tell you about maybe setting yourself up as an LLC or setting yourself up as an S corp, or what that needs to look like at what point in your business. How do you make sure that you separate earned income or active income from passive income from investments? They talk about real estate law. They don't talk about real estate business or being a successful investor. I was just like most investors. Listen, when I first got into real estate, and I'll tell you this, I'm still to this day, I don't picture myself as a salesperson. I didn't want the salesperson image. I swore I'd never stick my face on the side of a bus or on a grocery cart. I call that ego marketing. Like, I don't care. Like, the prettier your headshot, the more suspicious I am. And I got into that. I was like, my idea of skincare is stitches, right? So coming from construction, get into the sales business, it was a little apprehensive. And then I discovered is that that's just scraping the surface. Most of the people in real estate are actually really good people. And what you discover is there are a handful of them that were just like me who got into it because they realized that by having a real estate license, it opened up a sea of opportunity to build your own real estate empire.
Most real estate agents are really good people. It's just that every one of them look 10 years older than their face looks on the shopping cart advertisement.
I agree.
Now, I think what a lot of people think about being a real estate agent or licensee, we're just kind of using those terms interchangeably here. There are some semantics based on which state you're in, but it's about, after you pass your test, continuing education and maybe a post-licensing course 1 year after you get your initial certification. I think a lot of people think that if they're a licensee, they need to do something as part of their continuing education, like they need to show so many homes to couples every year in order to retain their license, but that's not true.
No, in fact, you can sit on it. They're going to have you take ethics training. They're going to have you take technology training. They're going to have you take disclosure training. It's going to be on contracts, forms, and your responsibility to the public, but it has nothing to do on sales. I mean, because here's the deal. If property managers have to have a real estate license if they're managing properties that are not their own. The minute you start managing a property that either you do not live in or you are not on title, you have to be a licensed realtor to manage that, even if it's just a house. So 75% of the people who have real estate licenses are not active salespeople. That's why when you look at the numbers and you look at the average realtor only does 4 deals a year. Well, once you strip away property managers and investors and you go after just the salespeople, you realize most salespeople only sell 9 houses a year. And out of that, in our industry, there's a 90-10 rule. 90% of the sales are done by 10% of the realtors. Because why? Because they own it, they treat it like businesses, and they don't treat it like a hobby.
Yeah, so you really don't need to be out there showing homes to couples if you go ahead and get your license. If I were to go out and get my license, I really want to be the one doing those first few showings where I'm probably going to be a new licensee showing crummy condos to first-time home buyers that want to make lowball offers that usually want all their showings to be done on evenings and weekends, like the times that it's least convenient. And, there's one other thought that I've got with one obtaining their license, Kevin, and that is a lot of people don't understand. Now, how does that work? Do I have to split my commission with my broker? And do I have to hang my license at a brokerage? And what does that split look like? And do I have to have office space over there at that brokerage? Or tell us about that.
Well, all that is negotiable. So I researched about 7 or 8 different brokerages before I decided to be at the one I'm at, and I'm happily at Keller Williams. I will tell you that my brokerage is a little bit different. Having come from the construction side of things, I really like the business planning. In fact, they will tell you they are a business building company that just so happens to provide real estate as a service. So coming from an engineering side of pipe fitting and fire protection, I really love the fact they had laid it out like a plan. So, as far as a brokerage goes, cost is only an issue when there's an absence of value. Whenever we argue about costs, it's not a cost argument. It's a values argument. As a realtor, the only reason someone wants to diminish my commission is because they don't think I'm providing enough value based on what that charge is. So it's never about my commission. It's about how do I provide so much phenomenal value that it's worth what you're investing in. If it was all about cost, we'd all be riding unicycles and not driving big Ford pickup trucks or big Chevy pickup trucks. We just need transportation. We want it cheap. So at some point, the value question comes into it. Brokerages are the same way. You need to be asking yourself what's important to you. If you want a wildly successful real estate business, then you need to go somewhere that's prepared to build you to be wildly successful, has the education to support, and that other successful people hang out with. We understand how important it is to network and mentor with active investors. If you've never flipped a house, you don't go and try to do it on your own. You find someone who's done it, someone who's willing to partner up. Maybe you provide labor and some capital for the education, but you find somebody to mentor in order for you to be successful. Well, you need to be doing the same thing in real estate sales. You need to make sure you tie up a brokerage where other successful people are. Success leaves clues. So does failure. So when you're interviewing brokerages, you need to ask yourself, how big a business do I want to be? If I'm just doing it passive and I just want someone to hang my license while I refer out a couple deals and I don't want anything serious, then there's small brokerages for that. And if you want to dominate your market, you want to go international and expand through states, which is the business I'm looking at. But my motto is, why dream small when dreaming big takes just as much energy? So then I put myself into that place. I said, where are all the top realtors? Where are the top businesses? Where are the earth changers and empire builders? And I want to be with them. So then I found a brokerage that feeds that. So those fees are all negotiable. We have a thing at Keller Williams called a cap. So once I pay them a certain dollar amount, I keep 100% of everything I make. By the way, I cap in less than 30 days. So 11 and a half months out of the year, I don't pay squat to my brokerage. So really, it's all just about what model works for you, where you want to be, and what that needs to look like. Keller Williams also has, I don't want to just point out, it's just that this is the only model I know because I've been here for 10 years. They're also very conducive to team environments, which is I have 6 realtors that work underneath me to help churn over. I create so much business by networking with investors that more investors beget more investors. And so I have more leads than I can handle. So I funnel them out to a team. So they're very conducive to that kind of arrangement. However, I know some people that just all they do is rehab and flip their own deals. And so they have a license elsewhere, or they go somewhere where it's really cheap. They don't expect any kind of support from the brokerage. But again, they're not looking for a lot of value. Obviously, they're not expecting a high cost either.
Kevin Cross, it's been great to have you here. Thanks so much for coming on to Get Rich Education.
Thank you, Keith.
Yeah, after marketing fees and dues, agents earn about 1.5% per transaction on average. Now, that can work out for you if you've got volume or if you're strategic. I actually took my state's real estate licensing course, and it was not an easy test. Like Kevin and I said, they don't ask you much about investing or how to run your real estate business, and most people fail the test. I did happen to pass mine the first time around, but it's only because I studied for it, okay? And I'm not licensed to sell you a property today, though. It's just not what I want to do, but it might be right for you. Keller Williams is definitely an industry leader in developing their agents. They just devote a lot of resources to your training and your education. Thanks today to our guest, Kevin Cross, a passionate, savvy, passive real estate investor, sometimes real estate flipper, and an active businessman. You can learn more about Kevin at alaskarex.com. That's REX as in real estate exchange. It's great to have some of my roots here on the show, as I've been a real estate exchange member since inception. I still attend their meetings from time to time, and it was a pleasure to have their president, Kevin Cross, here on GRE today. We'll be back next week to help you build your wealth for the last show of the year with a guest whom Donald Trump calls a member of his hand-picked team of wealth creation experts. And happy holidays to you. Part of living well is giving well. You can see which charities Get Rich Education donates to on our giving page at getricheducation.com/giving at this time of year where we think more about giving. Thanks for giving your time today. Until next week, I'm your host, Keith Weinhold. Don't quit your daydream.
You've been listening to Get Rich Education, telling you what the wealthy won't tell you about real estate and investing.
Nothing on this show should be considered specific, personal, or professional advice. Please consult an appropriate tax, legal, real estate, financial, or business professional for individualized advice. Opinions of guests are their own. Information is not guaranteed. All investment strategies have the potential for profit or loss. The host is operating on behalf of Get Rich Education, LLC exclusively.
Cash flow real estate investors nationwide and worldwide, this is Get Rich Education's Keith Weinhold. Forbes has rated Memphis, Tennessee as the #1 cash flowing market in the world. Our good friends at Mid-South Homebuyers have been Memphis's premier turnkey real estate provider for 14 years with a stellar reputation and an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Owner Terry Kerr was born and raised in Memphis. Yeah, he knows the market and has renovated and sold over 1,000 houses in the Memphis area. Find out what their many repeat buyers already know. Their houses are completely renovated, even come with a 1-year builder's warranty and a lifelong rental guarantee. They're a perfect fit for the first-time out-of-state investor or the seasoned investor diversifying their portfolio. Mid-South Homebuyers' friendly staff makes investing easy. Learn more at midsouthhomebuyers.com or give them a call at 901-217-HOME. The preceding program was brought to you by your home for wealth building, GetRichEducation.com.